Check out Liam McHugh, who joins us now from TNT, NHL on TNT. Maybe he's frozen or maybe he's in awe of that read. How are you, Liam?
I think it's a little bit of both. Am I frozen for you guys?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
That was the greatest promo I've ever heard, seen, witnessed. The fact that it's a game changer in the green powdery space, that's next level.
There's a lot,
and I'm excited for it now.
There's a lot of green powdery executives who were shaking when they found out about AG1.
That's right.
They were like, "Oh fuck."
How are you, buddy? How are you?
People
enjoying
spend a
these
lot of
playoffs?
time in that space. Yeah, listen, you spend your whole life trying to get into the green powdery realm, and then someone comes in there and boom, all your work, all your effort just blown away.
You know who I like to think were the executives that thought they had the green powdery space cornered, the Winklevoss twins. And then I forget the actor's name, but the guy who is in Spiral comes in. Is it Nick something comes in and is like, AG1
Nick
came
Cage?
out.
Was it Nick Cage?
Yes, it was Nicolas Cage in the Facebook movie.
We're
very
gonna
good.
Steal the green powder.
He was great. You didn't even know it was him in it. That's why it was so good.
Nick Minghella, is that his name?
I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name.
He's and it was controversial. I think that they quote unquote sweetened his skin to make him look an ethnicity that he was not.
Oh boy, that's never a good term to use.
And if he didn't do that, I apologize to him.
It's been fun being on with you guys. This has been great.
Yeah, I feel like you're the one that's stalling. You're the one that followed up with the green stuff because you don't want to talk about the Islanders, which is fair.
Yeah, it's not good. The only good thing right now is that I'm not on Long Island, and I don't have to deal with my neighbors constantly bothering me about this. Although all of my idiot friends are sending me nothing but every single Maple Leafs tattoo that they've found on the internet. The bigger, the better. They sent me a full back tattoo yesterday and thought that would be, a tasteful option for me. So that's fun. This was a lot more fun when I thought it was going to happen to Biz. Definitely. I got in a little over my head, and no, I think I'm at this point, my only hope is the Boston Bruins.
So to catch people up on the speed who may not know, you made a bet with Biz before the playoffs that with the Islanders and the Leafs, whichever one goes further, the other person has to get a tattoo, correct?
So it's a little bit more specific than that. If it's round by round. So if the Islanders get swept, Biz does not automatically win this. If they both go out in the first round, it is then up to the fans who have been so kind to put their options on Twitter. We'll pick one from there. And by the way, fans, you don't have to lean into the tattoo portion of this bet. It could be something else. And no, neither one of us is going to get a Rangers tattoo. So stop suggesting that. It's not going to happen. The other part of that bet, and there are other parts of this, is that if Biz loses, he is going to get a pie in the face from an Islanders legend, which we are really hoping is Butch Goring, and I see no reason why Butch Goring wouldn't jump at the opportunity to do this. And if I lose, I have to wear a Canadian tuxedo on air to host a Leafs game going forward, which isn't that bad of an option because I think I could then cut a hole in the jeans portion, the pants, and get the tattoo live on air on my leg. So that's the other part. It's going to be live on air, so that's fun too.
How do we involve Gretzky in this bet? I want him to have to get a tattoo.
Did he? Well, he had the best line last night. We had, Biz asked him if he had any tattoos, and he said, "Would you put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari?" And I said, yeah. Which, by the way, never made me feel like such a beat up station wagon in my life. As I look at the decisions I've made with my skin over the year. So,
you're a tattoo guy? I didn't know that.
I got a few. I don't have the I don't have the full sleeve. I don't have the patience to sit there. Actually, the first one I got, I fell asleep, so I don't want to plan for anything big because I don't know what I'm going to wake up to. No, I got a few, and not as many as Biz. Biz has some ones that he probably sits there and was like, I could do without. I feel comfortable with my decision making with tattoos until right now.
Yeah, you certainly seem like somebody who thinks things through a little bit more than Biz might. even like at this stage in his life. Early stage Biz, young Biz, I'm sure he made some decisions.
Listen, we have the locker room, and it's such a cool part of TNT where like you go into the locker room and your locker's next to like guys like Isaiah Thomas, and Gretz is over in the legend section with Shaq and Barkley. But Biz is in there, and he takes the shirt off, and there's definitely there's a couple cool tattoos. Then there's the one that says Biz Nasty on it, and you're like, I don't know if that was really necessary. I mean, I think we know who you are, but there would be nothing better, and I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, if the Islanders suddenly came back, won this, shocked everybody, and Biz had to get not only an Islanders logo, but he had to get the Fisherman Islanders logo. And my original thought was Fisherman Islanders logo, but with Butch Goring's face.
That'd be amazing.
The best part about that is it would have to be so big if you're going to like actually get into the detail of having somebody's face on there. It would have to be a pretty big tattoo.
I think, and the best is, I think Biz is one of those guys where you'd be angry about it, and they just be like, all right, whatever. Is it going to make the show better? All right, just do it. Go ahead. And then he'd pout about it for the rest, but he would still do it. He would go through with it all. And, he's a tremendous teammate for that. But right now, it's not looking good. I'm not thrilled about anything that has happened. Certainly not thrilled with what happened with Sorokin last night. But I'm loving what Brad Marchand is bringing, and he's got to keep bringing that more and more for the Boston Bruins.
Oh, yeah, he's completely destroyed the Maple Leafs. I'm just going to pay a compliment before we get into more specific talk about the wonderful show that you do. You and Biz, man, like I've always thought that you were an awesome host, and we see with a bunch of different panels and different sports that it's like part of it is being an awesome host, and part of it is also like getting an amazing combination of people to work with. You and Biz are so perfect together in how you set the tone for the rest of the group, and everybody else on that show is really, really good as well. But I feel like somehow Biz doesn't get enough credit for being really intelligent with just like the hockey talking points that he brings up, and you being good at limiting how much he screws around. But I feel like even he knows like not to take up too much time dicking around.
I think he's got the perfect balance. I also think you mentioned he's a really smart hockey mind. He's thinking about this game and watching this game all day long. He's an absolute hockey addict. So when he comes on the air, like he wants to have fun, he wants to be entertaining. But if he sees something and wants to make a point, he's going to go out of his way to make sure that the tape is correct, that the timing of it's all correct. He works at it. And I love that about him. And he also realizes that, he's at one end of this desk, and often at the very end of the other side is Wayne Gretzky. And there's a time to mess around, which is a lot of our show, which is awesome. We go off the rails and we keep it there, which is fun. But then there's also a time to have a good discussion and ask follow-up questions. And for me, it's fun also just to sit back sometimes, kind of tee them up, and then see Biz and Anson go back and forth and ask Gretzky questions. And I love looking, like, you look at their eyes, and they look like they're, like, 11-year-olds again. Like, just talking to their idol and asking them, like, little detailed questions. And the biggest, I think, uncertainty for me was, would Gretzky be willing to share everything that he was willing to share? And he has been. He's been so open. He wants to tell stories. He wants to take you back. Bring you inside the locker rooms with all these legends and give you details of the games back then. I mean, last night he told a story about playing against Reinhardt's dad when he was a kid and how there was no glass. It was just the boards. And Reinhardt's dad was kind of a big, strong defenseman, even though they were kids, and he was giving him a hard time. And Gretzky's grandmother hit Reinhardt over the boards with her purse, and she was just smacking him. And this guy's looking around, he's like, what is happening here? And I think the cool thing is like, no, that's planned. Gretzky just in the moment was like, that was cool talking to Reinhardt. Let me tell you this unbelievable story. And I don't know, it's weird how these things work, because you put 4 or 5 people in a room together, you wonder what the chemistry is going to be like. But it's worked so well. And I got to tell you, before I worked here, I always said Keith Jones was the best teammate I had in this job. And I would say Biz is right there with him. And obviously Anson, who I've worked with for such a long time. but there's a dynamic between Biz and and I don't know. He makes this job so much more fun for me.
And the last thing I'll say on that, I'm sure it's also your producers, but like you're so good at, for lack of a better term, like editing, letting the conversation go for as long as it's interesting. You're knowing that there's so many moving parts and that Biz is going to take it here and that you might have something you could do with Hank or whatever. Like if something's going a little longer than a producer might want it to, it feels like it goes the appropriate length.
I listen. I appreciate that, and all the compliments. I don't know. I hate getting compliments. It's like such a weird feeling, and I don't know. I probably need to seek some sort of therapy about all that, but it's another issue, and I'm not on the couch right now. But I would also say that I think our producers and I think everyone at TNT has this feel that if something is good, just go with it. Let it ride. Let's see where it takes us. If it's different or weird, that's okay. Treat it the way you would treat a conversation if you were with friends on a couch at a bar. Why would you change the subject? Like suddenly, if you're in the middle of something. And I love that from them. Like there's no pressure on me to get to some sort of, oh, listen, we have this killer graphic that we got to throw up there. And what sucks is like, we know people worked on those and they put time and effort into it. But at the same time, we have the best people where they say, hey, I put the time, I put the effort, maybe we'll get to it later in the night. And that's cool because the show is going to take us where it takes us. And I think top down to TNT, that's the vibe we want. And that's really the show I want to do. So, I mean, it's cool also to know that the show you want to do is the show that people are responding to.
Yeah, and I mean, you said don't change subject if things going well, and so I'm going to pay you a compliment, and I know that you hate them, but I'm going to pay you a compliment anyway. You're really good at like steering the conversation, but also being the adult in the room, and that has gone back to like you're a good moderator, and that's gone back to the last job at NBC too. I'm just curious for you, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit ago, like going from NBC to TNT. And then the process of TNT and letting it develop, it seems like everybody on that panel has really done a really good job of settling into their roles and growing over the past couple of years. I'm curious to you as what that journey's looked like behind the scenes with guys like Gretzky, who, like, when Gretzky showed up, we were all a little nervous. You're like, are they getting Gretzky just to say that they have Gretzky? Like, he wasn't super, like, media trained. What has the process been like to watch those guys settle into that role?
Yeah, I think first with Gretz to start there, it's just he's I know he's a superstar and he's a god, and but at its root, he's a hockey player, and hockey players are good teammates. And I tell the story where like in the first week after meeting him, he had watched me and I was constantly like taking my glasses on and off. I think it's just a habit because I didn't wear them my whole life and I'm just not used to them. So I got a call out of nowhere and it was Gretzky, and he's asking me about my eyes, and he has a great eye doctor in New York, and I should see him. And I mean, I didn't even know he had my phone number. Like we'd worked together one night, and I'm having this long conversation about my eyes, and I get off the phone, and my wife's in the other room. She's like, "Who was that?" And I said, "Like that was Wayne Gretzky, who wants me to go see an eye specialist so that I can feel better about myself in my job." He's that type of guy. And then going forward, it was this knowledge that he's paying attention. Like whether he's behind the scenes and you haven't heard from him in a while, he's watching all the games. And he started texting us when we were doing shows and he wasn't there the first year. And we realized like, oh, Gretzky likes this. Like he wants to be part of this group. He wants to be back in this. And then, a few weeks into it, when we were getting comfortable enough to really jab at each other a little bit more than we did in the first couple of shows, the fact that Gretzky came on and he delivered daggers to guys. Like he started, just chirping back at people. And when Gretzky chirps you, like it's over. It's done. Like he just absolutely ends the fight right then and there. And there's nothing you can do to come back at him. But the fact that he wants to give and take, I think is surprising in some ways to a lot of people. And it's really made the show what it is. Anson, I think is, like he's so underrated in the fact that he could talk about anything at any time within the sport. He's so knowledgeable. He's someone who can break down the game, but he's also someone who can sit back let nonsense go back and forth, and he kind of twists the knife a little bit once in a while just to get guys going. And, he did that the other day where he was talking about Drew Doughty, what a great game he played. And he could not believe that it was the first time Drew Doughty had scored a goal since way back in 2014 in June of that year. Oh, yeah, Stanley Cup final against you, Hank. And it was just like the perfect layout. And like Hank was just like, oh, man, like I knew it was coming. You didn't have to hit me with that. But it was like, it's one of those good moments. And it's an underrated skill that he can be there and be a serious hockey guy, but really appreciate everything in the room. And Biz, I think is there's no one like him. There's just no one like him in TV. He's so uber talented. He's smart. He's funny. He's self-deprecating, and he's completely unpredictable. What I love to say is that he can give you an intelligent breakdown, but I can also tee him up for the most basic question where the response should be so predictable, and his response is so far off the map that. I think maybe 10 years ago I wouldn't know what to do with it, but now it's so comfortable knowing that I'll throw something out there and I have no idea what's going to bounce back, that the show may change 2 seconds into it and we may be going some other direction. And eventually we'll get back to what we were talking about and you'll get to a game.
I have two follow-ups there.
All right.
Number one, what is Wayne Gretzky's calling habits? Because you just mentioned you barely knew him. He called you, FaceTimed you, gave you a recommendation for an eye specialist. And then last night, J.J. McCarthy was giving his post-draft interview, and Wayne Gretzky called him in the middle of his post-draft interview. Seems like that guy's just willing to call anybody at any time.
Yeah, if he's been handed your phone number, there's a good chance you're going to get a call. It's funny. I've heard this from other people. We had Tony Granato on, not long ago, and he was talking about how he was coaching at the Olympics in 2018, and they had lost a big game, and he's walking out through the mixed media zone, and boom, the first thing on his phone is Wayne Gretzky. Like he's calling him in that moment to let him know just how proud he was of him, and how proud he was, that these kids are being raised in America, and there's a coach like this. He's just generous like that. I would honestly say that maybe 3 of the nicest texts I've ever gotten in my life are all from Wayne Gretzky. And there is no bigger tire pump in the world than getting a random text from Wayne Gretzky where he tells you that you're doing a great job and that he loves working with you and can't wait to be back on the set. I mean, I don't care what kind of horrible day you are having. I don't care if you just got attacked by a shark. You are feeling better in like an instant that Wayne Gretzky has texted you. And that's from what I've heard from other people. That's exactly who he is. So I would also say I can't believe people are turning down his calls. I don't care what
JJ
McCarthy
McCarthy of all people ignoring a Wayne Gretzky call immediately after getting drafted.
I know it's a big night
flag,
but you pick up that phone. There's no way you turn down that call.
The cool thing about Gretzky there is, I don't know this, but I do. He just has to. There's no way Gretzky says that he calls people. I bet he says he phones people. He's got that energy about it. Canadian.
Second follow-up question. Can you give Wayne Gretzky our numbers?
I'll do it. Why not?
Just want to get one of those calls.
Just Pete's.
Why not? Are you going to
so it'd be wasted. My phone doesn't ring.
Listen, I'm not giving you. If you're not going to pick up the phone, then there's no way.
It would be. I don't know what. It happened like 3 years ago, and I've never done anything about it. I accidentally did some setting on my phone. I've Googled it, how to fix it. I don't know what it is, and I don't really care to fix it. My phone never rings. If you call me, it fucking misses the call. So don't give Wayne Gretzky my number. I don't know. Maybe like Wayne Gretzky would really like me. You'd be intrigued.
If you call you, it goes to voicemail straight the first time. But if you call the second time, it'll go through. So you're like on permanent do not disturb mode or something like that.
It could be that.
You are basically my 85-year-old father.
who we gave that would make me Pete's grandfather.
That's true.
It would. Congratulations to you then. Yeah.
I wanted to say, you mentioned Gretzky gave you a note about your eyesight. If your eyes are anything like your facial hair, 2020. Bam, another compliment, bitch.
I must be on some sort of filter here that like takes away the Irish patchiness of this whole experience. It's really not a good look.
You look great.
What
Yeah,
kind of
right.
what kind
Nice
of
try.
Wi-Fi you got over there? Because that Wi-Fi,
Is it as terrible as it feels on this end? Yeah.
Yes.
This is brutal.
Someone in the
I don't
chat
know.
called you 280 PM McHugh.
The audio is great though, so that's all
Clear
that
as a
really
bell.
matters.
I just listen. I feel like I'm in my basement, and my mom's gonna pick up the phone, and this whole thing's gonna get disconnected.
So that would be my wife then in this fucked
That's
up
true,
thing we're
yes.
doing. We're keeping it all familial.
Tell your
Wayne,
wife not to pick up the damn phone. All right.
on Wayne Gretzky, P knows where I'm going with this. And apologies to listeners who have heard this 1,000 times out of us. Here's how I remember the whole Wayne Gretzky thing going with TNT. At first, it was everybody was feeling each other out, and he wasn't yet what he is now. And then one game, maybe it was in the playoffs, maybe it was in an overtime game where you might be talking about how PB&Js and pizza is going around. At some point, somebody, I'm assuming you, asked Wayne, "Hey Wayne, you ever eat food during a game?" And Wayne said, "Oh yeah." And he hasn't stopped since. And now you guys can fuck around. Biz is doing whatever, making cat noises. And then you just turn and be like, "Hey, Wayne, ever eat a candy bar during the game?" And he's like, "One time I scored a goal. In between periods, ate 3 candy bars, came back, scored another goal." And both the set and all the viewers are like, "Oh, shit. That's incredible." I love his food stories. Ask him more.
He's drinking soda and eating hot dogs. I mean, it's incredible, right? One of the greatest athletes of all time, just sitting there, basically like going to the concession stand in the intermission, loading up, eating whatever crap's available, and then going out and torching people. I love that, and I love the comfort that he has. Like, we go out and do those demos, and they don't always go right, which is sometimes a lot better for TV. But we did this whole one where it was pass off pads, right? And Biz wanted to really, he's all jazzed up about this, all pumped. He's going to teach people that, it's not a real shot. They're trying to pass it off the pads because they know they're not going to score. And he's talking through, and Anson's helping him out. And we're going through the whole thing. And Wayne has not said a word. And at the very end, he's like, "Wayne, what did you think of this situation?" And he goes, "Pass off pads." He goes, "Why wouldn't I just shoot and score?" It's like, why would anyone pass off pads? Like, it was 5 minutes of the most passionate plea of how this is the most important thing in the game right now. And then Wayne coming in and being like, "Yeah, I don't think so. That didn't make any sense to me. Just score the goal."
That is so true. When people talk about like how different players would hold up in different eras, like Gretzky, I couldn't see playing today because he would see a teammate throw it intentionally wide and be like, "Why the fuck didn't you put it in the net, you big dummy?"
Well, I mean, that's also like why probably explains why Wayne Gretzky
Coaching.
wasn't the best coach, because he'd just be like, "Hey, just go out there and be the fucking best."
I think it's impossible for guys who are all-time greats, guys who are Hall of Famers, to coach. It has got to be the most frustrating experience in the world.
Yeah.
It has got to just bother you to no end. Like, I don't understand why you couldn't do that. Why couldn't you make a pass right on the tape? It was right there. You're going full speed, but who cares? There's no excuse. And I also, then it gets even worse when it's a great player who had an unbelievable amount of desire, and both of those things aren't there. I can't even imagine the level of frustration that those guys feel, where it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute to them why these things can't click and can't happen. So
I'm curious about the TNT. Obviously, you guys have great chemistry on the air. What's like the off the air relationship like with those guys? What kind of shit do you guys get into down there in Atlanta?
don't speak to them ever. Just
Save it.
ignore
Save it for the
them.
show.
Yeah. No, it's an easy group of people to get along with. We're on text threads throughout the entire week. If things pop that one person sees, they share with everyone. And I think it's like any text thread that like you have with your buddies, where it may start off with like, "Oh my God, did you see this?" And then people are reacting to that and showing you something else. And then it just devolves into like one person on the thread being made fun of for almost no apparent reason, right? Like, someone responded idiotically or like responded to a different text on this one, and then it's just everyone hammering that person. until you eventually see them face to face again. It's a great group in that respect.
So
who's the
and
biggest target?
Yeah, you guys just fucking smoke Gretzky all day.
I will say this: when Rick Tocchet was on a lot of these threads back in the day, it was tremendous to see Tock and Gretz go back and forth, because like a lot of us are like tiptoeing into this. I'm not sure I want to just like I don't want a documented text that I'm smack talking Gretzky. Like I mean, we'll tell some stories and there'll be legends and everything like that, but Gretz would just hit Tocchet up. He'd go back. And it was unafraid. And I think the rest of us were just like fans at that point, just hoping that this text thread would continue to see like the ... the bubbles popping up, and like something was coming back and forth from these two guys. I love that. And listen, I'm happy Tocchet's doing his thing, but man, we miss him. He was such a big part of the show, a big part of what we did. And honestly, and you talk about Gretzky opening up, Rick Tocchet was a huge part of that. And it was just the comfort level he had with old friends, guys who know each other a long, long time. There's a lot of trust there, and Talk was a huge part of everything we got going here at TT.
The group text thing is so fascinating, and we tried to ask Brad Marchand about this earlier in the year. Like, that never existed 20 years ago or whatever. But like the idea that Patrice Bergeron retires, and they're like, okay, well now, do we remove him from our group text? And now is he not part of that conversation anymore? And let's be real, when Zdeno Chara retires, they're probably like, he was probably yelling at us on the group text. Now we're going to have like a lighter group text. Is it so like Tocchet leaves and now he's done?
He's basically done. I mean, I think, we've had him on the show and he's been on certain ones. So you have to like be careful which one you're on. But yeah, Tocchet, he's off it. I think a big part of this, we just don't want to bother the guy. I mean, he's got a hell of a lot more pressure in his life right now than any of us do. But yeah, he basically kind of exits the group chat. Henrik Lundqvist enters the group chat. And then we start adding like a few other personalities in there, depending on like the week and the show. And you get Keith Yandel in the mix, which is always good for a laugh. You get Colby Armstrong, who is, I think, tremendous and just a completely weird dude / great hockey mind.
So weird.
He fits in so perfectly. He really is. And I love that. Like, he's kind of just a wild card dynamic to bring in. But Jans is great too, because Jans is always good for like a very, very dry comment, and also good for a prank, where I can tell you that like Colby Armstrong missed one of our calls for a show because he's got like 19 jobs. He's flying all over the country. So he missed it. We had a new producer that week, and he didn't even know who he was. So immediately Jans, without telling anyone else, had his friend text Colby from a number that obviously Colby didn't have, and tell him how he was a selfish, entitled athlete who should have been on. And this is the producer, and I hope this isn't, a look at what I'm going to be dealing with. And Colby then called me in a panic. Like, oh, I don't know this guy. I missed. And this went on for like hours, just, and afterwards, Colby apologized to this random texter. And the text then went back and said, great, I'm glad you apologized. And I'm glad we can both agree that you're selfish. And it was amazing. And at the end of this, like Jans, who has not told anyone, eventually he told me, but had not told anyone, was just sitting laughing and getting this message relayed to him from his friend, who, by the way, his friend also has nothing better to do than to do this, which seems perfect. Like, it's definitely someone Jans grew up with, who was like, oh yeah, man, like thick Boston accent. He's just talking to Jans. He's like, I will absolutely spend my day just texting your friend.
You know what? One of the bets should be with Biz. Here's a good thing. And an NDA could be involved, so the person's not allowed to share it. If Biz loses, like one random listener or whatever gets Biz's phone number, and Biz has to text with them.
That's excellent.
It's got to be pen pals with a fucking stranger.
Biz might embrace that whole thing.
Yeah, he would like root
you never know.
Like, yo, I just made another friend for free, sucker.
Yeah. Like,
that's
comes
amazing.
in the next day, he's tired. I'm like, what were you doing? He's like, oh, I was texting this random person I did not know, like, just all night. We're buddies now. Gonna go hang out.
Let me ask you this. Which current player do you think has the best chops to potentially join the panel in the future?
Wow.
Sebastian
There's
Aho.
there's a few. Listen, Ryan Reeves has been great every time he comes on.
Yeah.
Ryan Reeves has been tremendous. Brad Marchand would be just unbelievable TV, right? And I think he gets it. I also think there's a dynamic where, and we've seen it this year, right, where Marchand can be playful, he can be serious, he sees all sides of the game. So I think he would be excellent at this as well. There's a few people who I think are just great hockey minds. We've spoken to Alex Pietrangelo a bunch. He's one of those guys I think sees the game at a different level than a lot of the other players. But I could also see him being an executive. I could also just see him saying, "Hey, I made a lot of money. I'm not going to do any of this." So, but I'd say Marchand. I'd say Revo. Those are probably two of the guys who I think, if they want it, this type of career could be an easy transition for either one of them. Who do you guys?
I mean, Marchand would be awesome, but I think that, like,
You can't have him. He's ours.
yeah, like we'd like him to be ours, and also, like, I want to write a book with him and make a
No
movie
sharing
with him.
at
Yes.
all.
And the problem with having Ryan Reeves is that if anything happens on the panel, you can't use the term "this never would have happened if Ryan Reeves was here." So you gotta consider that.
That's true, but listen, we've had Craig Berube on, and so I feel like the dynamic of having someone like really intimidating on the end of the panel, where you're in some ways worried, where you want to like have a good time and poke fun at everyone, but at the same time you're like not sure if something terrible could happen. It's been there already. We've dealt with it. I don't know, man. I got to go with Revo also. The simple fact, Revo came on, did not win the Mr. TNT award, which is obviously very prestigious, but thought he had won it and came on with us tarpless, wearing a bow tie.
Outrageous.
That guy will find any excuse to not wear a shirt.
Disappointed that he had not won this made-up award.
We're doing a thing this postseason where we have bingo cards, because whenever something happens in a game that is unexpected, somebody says that it was not on their bingo card, even though bingo cards consist of fucking numbers. So we made bingo cards for this postseason. Pete got bingo in like 1 second. Beat all of our listeners, crushed us, got the quickest bingo I've ever seen in my life. You see Austin Matthews scoring a goal, there is the free space. Could you please hammer some bingo card references on the show if anything surprising happens?
This is purely just a surprising type moment.
Say, or maybe if it's a common thing, just say.
But you had that on your bingo card.
Say
reference. That's always the references. Didn't have this on my bingo card. Maybe somebody had this on their bingo card. Something like that.
I can actually. We'll send you our bingo cards, so maybe you could even do. As a game goes into double overtime, hey, congratulations to DJ. This was on his bingo card. He needed this one. Oh, a player with the number 90 scored. That's very big for Sean.
Well, I would have thought Sebastian Aho hits Sebastian Aho.
Oh, we have that.
A possibility.
We have like Aho on Aho stuff on the bingo card.
Did you see did you see Aho with us talking about the other Aho?
Did he enjoy that conversation?
He didn't enjoy a second of the conversation, beginning to end with us. We took it to mean he's locked in for the playoffs, which rocks, because we're ace interviewers, we're class. But he was very nice. He was just locked in, didn't really feel like doing an interview. But at the end, we asked him how grateful he was for us to have not asked him about the other Aho. And he said, well, now you have asked me about the other Aho. And then we yelled at him and said, clean your ears out, dummy. We said we were asking about not asking about it. And it was a nice back and forth. That guy's locked in.
Locked in.
Canes and
well,
four.
It sounds like if Brad Marchand doesn't work out for your show, you've got him basically
but you know what?
signed and sealed for the future. So
Brad Marchand was fucking awesome with us too. He was actually he was awesome. He'd just been named captain, and he came in and was just a fucking goof monster with us. Love him.
Before we get you out of here, have you lost faith in the Islanders? Are you out on the Isles?
I'm almost there. Listen, I grew up an Islanders and a Mets fan, so like you live with just the idea that disappointment is looming. And you're waiting for next year constantly. So that hurts. If I'm going to hang my hat on anything, it's the fact that I thought in game one they were better than the Canes. I thought last night they outshot them, and if they don't let up a soft goal, they're right there in that game as well. But do I think they're going to win 4 straight games? No. Carolina right now is probably the second best team in the playoffs. I would say the Panthers are the best. So again, I would hope a miracle happens and Varlamov comes back in and he's unbeatable. But a lot of this is going to come down to the Boston Bruins. And the simple fact is Toronto has not beaten them in a playoff series since 1959, and I feel pretty good about that.
I think they're fucking broken. We'll talk more about the Sheldon Keefe, Jim Montgomery stuff in just a little bit on the show, but I think the Leafs are so broken. Someone in the chat asks, are we rigging the bingo cards by feeding topics to broadcasters now? Good question. Yes. Sean's bingo card needs you to make a reference to the Avalanche once being the Nordiques.
Or Carolina.
Did the Jets being the Thrashers?
Any team's former identity. So the Thrashers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, any of it will get me bingo.
So just something to think about.
Well, you're going to get a Thrashers reference at some point. Colby Armstrong's going to be on, and he will make a point of referencing that. No doubt.
It's great news for Sean.
Thrashers legend, Colby Armstrong.
Well, you're a legend, Liam. You're so good at what you do, and we're very grateful that you joined us. We hope to talk to you with don't feel bad about the Wi-Fi, because no matter how many pixels there are, the picture is incredible, if you know what I'm saying. I'm talking about your looks. That's another compliment.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm good when it's blurry and frozen, and dim lighting helps as well. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. Very, very generous with his time. Thank you, Liam McHugh.
Just as good as it gets.
We all silly like the mayor.